This is a story I've never shared before, and honestly, it still gives me chills every time I think about it. A few years ago, my friends and I decided to go camping in the mountains. It was supposed to be a fun weekend adventure. You know, escaping the city, connecting with nature, just four friends and the great outdoors. There were four of us. Raghav, the leader of our little group, always the first to take charge. Samir, the guy who'd take 100 photos of everything. Nisha, who was the calm and collected one. And, well, me. More cautious than the others, but eager for the trip. We packed our bags with everything we thought we'd need. Tents, food, flashlights. The journey to the campsite was beautiful. The cool breeze, the rustling leaves, the sound of birds. It was perfect. At least it felt that way at first. We trekked all day and finally found this spot, a clearing surrounded by tall, ancient trees. It was breathtaking. The ground was soft, the air was fresh, and there was this golden glow as the sun started to set. We set up our tent, started a small campfire, and prepared dinner. Everything felt peaceful. The kind of peaceful where you feel like nothing could go wrong. We were laughing, sharing stories, planning for the next day. But as the sun disappeared and the forest grew darker, something shifted. Have you ever felt like someone's watching you, even though you're completely alone? That's how it started. A faint feeling. Like the forest wasn't as empty as it seemed. It was around 10 p.m. when we first heard it, a rustling sound coming from the bushes nearby. It was faint at first, almost like the wind. But it wasn't the wind. The sound was deliberate, like footsteps brushing through the undergrowth. Raghav laughed it off. Probably a rabbit or something, he said. Samir joked, maybe Bigfoot's here to say hello. But the rest of us, we weren't so sure. The rustling grew louder, circling around our tent. I told myself it was just animals, but deep down, I felt something wasn't right. Raghav grabbed a flashlight and said, "Let's check it out." I didn't want to go, but the others insisted. We stepped outside, shining the flashlight into the dark. The trees cast long, eerie shadows. The sound stopped the moment we exited the tent. We searched around, but found nothing. No animals, no movement, just silence, and somehow that silence was even more unnerving. We went back inside the tent, trying to laugh it off. But we couldn't ignore the tension. Samir was unusually quiet, Nisha looked uneasy, and even Raghav was fidgeting. Around midnight, we heard it again. This time it wasn't just rustling, it was footsteps. Slow, deliberate, and heavy. They were circling our tent. We grabbed the flashlight and stepped out, and that's when we saw it. There was a tree near our campsite, its bark covered in deep, jagged scratches, like something with claws had been there. But that wasn't the worst part. Beneath the tree, in the soft dirt, were footprints. They looked human, but they were wrong. Larger than any humans I've ever seen. Samir whispered, "What made those?" Before anyone could answer, the forest exploded with a scream. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't human. It was something else entirely. And it was close, too close. The kind of scream that freezes your blood. We froze, staring into the darkness, but we couldn't see where it came from. That was it. We weren't staying another minute. We grabbed whatever we could and started walking, fast. The trail was hard to find in the dark, and the trees all looked the same. But as we moved, we realized something horrifying. We weren't alone. Footsteps. Behind us. Not ours. These were heavier, slower, but steady, matching our pace. When we stopped, they stopped. When we moved, they moved. Nisha whispered, "It's following us." I told everyone, "Don't look back, just keep moving." We could hear the sound getting closer, the crunch of leaves, the snap of twigs. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might give out. The only thing keeping us going was the faint hope that we'd find the edge of the forest. After what felt like hours, we finally saw it. The faint glow of dawn breaking through the trees. We ran. I don't know how we found the strength, but we ran like our lives depended on it. And maybe they did. When we reached the edge of the forest and stepped into the open, it felt like we'd been pulled out of a nightmare. The footsteps were gone, the sounds had stopped, but none of us dared look back. We collapsed, breathing hard, and for the first time we felt safe. But the question stayed with us. What was out there? What made those scratches, those footprints, and that scream? I still hear it in my nightmares. Even now, I don't have answers, but I learned one thing that night. Nature has its mysteries, and not all of them are meant to be understood. So if you ever find yourself deep in the wilderness, remember this. Respect the unknown, because sometimes the unknown is watching you. Thank you for listening to my story, and if you've ever experienced something like this, I'd love to hear it.